Hello, anonymous strangers on the internet. Welcome to our first episode of Let's Play Rimworld. This is a colony simulator by Tynan Sylvester and some other people who also work on it, but don't put their names all over it. This game is pretty cool. It's got a nice background. Apparently it's eventually going to be animated. Those are things I don't really care about, but if that's true too, there's that. So to play this game, it's not completely intuitive. The user interface is horrendous and should be shot in the face, but that said, it is actually not too bad. To make a world, or play the game, the first step is you have to create a world. To do this, you give it a seed, or you can just use this seed, but that's less fun. Sleep is awesome. Sorry, again, I've gone too little sleep, too much coffee. It's an amazing combination. I know you all enjoy it. Depending on what seed you put in, you'll get a different kind of world. For example, this one is littered with water. Water currently is something you can walk over, so that's cool. But doesn't really offer much more except for really slow movement speed. Plus, it's sort of boring. But depending on where you want to have your colony set up, you'll experience different challenges. So for example, apparently if you choose to build in the middle of the ocean, you can plant year-round. Your average temperature is going to be 65.9 in January, and then up to a high of 85.5. So there's a few different things you want to consider. So for example, you can click back and see that that world seed is horrible, and I would really like to have a place with more water. So Neil is handsome. That's the name of my husband. He is very handsome. It's quite nice for me, very uncomfortable for him. Ooh, Neil is handsome, made a nice map. Here is why I like this map. Now, if I decide to use the same seed, I have a variety of options to choose from. Up here, I have an area where it is never able to grow anything. We have an ice sheet biome. It's super duper cold all the time. Life is awful. I also have the tundra biome, where I do have a little bit of a growing period, and the temperatures are still not fantastic, but they're not as awful. I also have the desert biome available, which is always nice. The temperate forest, boreal forest, desert, I'm pretty sure, and then arid shrubland. And I think I also have some tropical rainforest. So this pretty much gives you one of all the biomes, which is not a bad choice to have on your map unless you like to generate lots of them. I'm just not a huge fan of cluttering that area with a bunch of maps. The other great thing about this map that I like is excuse me, we have a variety of elevations. So if you're first starting out, my recommendation is you find somewhere that has large hills. If you choose mountainous, such as right here, it tends to be a crap load colder. Your people will never get to eat any food, they'll starve to death, and unless you want to resort to cannibalism, that's not a very fun first game. But if you want to choose somewhere with large hills, and honestly, temperate's probably one of the easier ones to play with, or somewhere that allows you to grow year-round, but also isn't a desert, would be good. I'm not interested in playing somewhere easy, so I'm just going to go ahead and click save and finish here, because that'll save our world. Then the next step is you need to go to new colony. So you have to choose your AI storyteller. There are 3 options here. Over here is Randy Random. He just impulsively decides things, and this determines the difficulty or frequency that the bad stuff, or good stuff maybe, will happen. So for example, you can do free play, which is pretty much sandbox mode plus a little bit of gimpy attacks. Base builder, which is still pretty weak, rough. It gets a little bit harder, but they no longer have the bonuses. Challenge is you might die. And extreme is supposed to be bad. I haven't played extreme yet because I'm not an extreme person, and this is probably my 3rd colony that I'm building. My first colony died in horrible agony. My second colony, they got all out free, and I was pretty bored. And I've been playing on challenge. Now, Phoebe Chillax is my colony where they got all out and escaped to safety. Her version is pretty much that you have a really long time period before attacks happen, so you're able to build more, which is nice. Then Cassandra Classic. very classy lady here, obviously, with this random floating ball thing and pointy shoulders. Who doesn't like pointy shoulders? This is a steadily increasing curve, and so it's not too bad. If you're really scared, or you've played multiple times and you can't seem to get your people to live, I recommend Phoebe Chillax. If you're not, I recommend this, and if you want to challenge yourself, I encourage you to choose Randy Random and choose Extreme. I'm not going to be doing that for the words hard, English, difficult. I'm not going to be doing that for the sake of this tutorial walkthrough let's play combination. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and choose challenge, which can be bad. Last time I played challenge, what ended up happening is I forgot to have enough electricity to let my hydroponics work, so people died. Just all there is to it. People died. We'll go ahead and choose this one. This is the one I just made. The other one is... Hi, Neil. You are handsome. Let's choose. So, some tips if you're just starting out and you want a slightly easier game. Don't pick flat, because the end game requires you to have... what is it? Plasteel, I think it's called. So if you don't have plasteel, you won't be getting anything. You need at least, you can probably do small hills, I don't know, but large hills work for getting you plasteel, and also having lots and lots of steel, which, you know, also good, would recommend. Let's go ahead and choose somewhere, let's choose a temperate forest. Let's make this pretty easy on ourselves. So, last game I played was in a boreal forest. I died. So let's go ahead and choose here. We're going to go somewhere that's not mountainous, but we're going to go for some large hills. Perfect. April to September is our growing period. Excellent. And we'll have slate, granite, and marble, which are all good things. So this looks like a pretty good area to start to me. Again, if you want a real challenge, go over here into the ice sheet, and good luck. But I don't want a real challenge, because that will end very quickly, and then everybody will be bored, I'll be bored, bloody fury. I mean, I'll probably do that later, repeatedly, off screen when nobody's watching, and maybe on screen if the mood strikes me. But in the meantime, click select site. So, next up, you need to choose your settlers. Typically, if you're going to aim for specific gifts from your settlers, the things that you want to start with is someone with high shooting, because they will be able to go hunting for you, and also shoot people in their faces, which is nice, because melee gets you killed. There was an alpha release video where they talked about how, no, we're not going to make it horrible anymore for you to shoot people in their faces, it's totally worthwhile. But I also like to be able to have someone who can shoot people in their faces also do other things too, because you don't need that much shooting in their faces. So, for example, this noble shift guy, shift noble, whatever, is a very strong fighter, very strong at recruiting, like, he could be amazing. The problem is, that's all he can do. And I'm not a fan. So, on top of that, you'll also have these different aspects here, such as their childhood, which will give them bonuses or decrements to these stats. And then their adulthood as well, which this guy was a lord, so clearly he can't carry anything, he can only shoot things in their faces, which, so nice, so nice. And it makes them incapable of doing dumb labor or skilled labor. They also have different traits, so this guy is going to probably, this woman, because she's a she, is going to probably have conversations with people that'll piss them off, which is bad for their mood and might cause them to go on a shooting spree, as happened in my last colony. Then there's some that'll give you better mood, some that will make them more inclined to drugs, less inclined to drugs, some that just make them more likely to get affected by these little drones that fly by and make everyone moody. What other traits? Yeah, so, psychopath. These are fun. They have no problem doing anything to people, sometimes even eating them. So let's go ahead and re-roll all of these, because like I said, I don't want it to be that hard. I would like it to last a little while, and maybe we'll fly off the island. No. This isn't bad. We might keep this. You, Alice, you stay here until I decide I want you or not. So you need high shooting. You also are going to want someone with high medicine, because people get shot a lot this game, and you want them to not bleed out. In fact, if you can get a couple people who are capable of medicine, just in case, anything happens, That's great. So medicine and growing are going to be the next stats that we're really looking at here. And if you can get them to have both, like in this exact scenario, well that worked out nicely, then that's the better. Now these double flames mean that they're going to learn it more quickly, which is good because some of these things they don't do very frequently. So if they learn it quickly, it's more likely they'll do it well. So if they grow, they'll plant faster and everything will be happy, and if they don't, yeah, starvation happens. And you're also cold tolerant. I don't remember which biome I picked, but this seems worthwhile. Ooh, fast walkers are nice too, because I like to build in places that are kept apart from everyone everywhere. And he would like to not have prosthetics. That shouldn't be an issue, because I can never afford them, because I always have to buy eye cords. Bleh. Word hard. Okay, see, this guy cannot hunt. I'm oddly okay with that. Okay. So we got our medicine, we got our growing, we got our shooting. Do you happen to have an okay social skill? No. Do you? No. Now, if they're just capable of constructing, I'm usually fine with that. But if they're gifted, that would be better. And if they have an okay social skill, that would also be nice, because that's how you recruit people. Do we have anyone who's... This guy's okay at cooking, so I'm okay with just leaving that as is and not hunting down a chef. Capable of fighting. I can't have a bunch of pacifists. That's not going to work. So here I'm mainly looking for an okay social skill and an okay construction or mining or anything in their skill. Nope. That's not bad. But not great. I don't like it. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. This is how this game works. So this is good, except for the fact that I have another pacifist, so we gotta keep going. Social construction, this is very good. We'll also have somebody who's good at cooking and medicine, which having an extra medicine-inclined person isn't bad, and an extra chef is not bad. Because if one of them gets injured, bad things happen. They're also pretty good at crafting, which is important too, so this is actually a pretty nice combination. And they're not completely terrified of doing anything with weapons, so awesome. You don't clean. Well, I don't care if you don't clean, and you refuse to grow anything. Oddly okay with that too, because those guys can take care of it. Alright, hopefully none of you die. You're all fairly old, but hey, who likes 19-year-old females anyway? So, let's go ahead and start here. Ba ba ba. Oh, I should have given them nicknames so I could remember who they are. That's alright. Alice is the important one. The three of you awake in your crypto-sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown Rimworld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive. Well, that's good. You make plans to survive instead of just dying. So, I don't know why the game does this. It makes these things forbidden immediately, which is super duper annoying because there's no real point to that. There's a point where, yeah, having a human corpse forbidden so that your hungry people don't resort to cannibalism and then shoot the place up is potentially beneficial. Don't get me wrong, I've learned that from my last game. But it's still sort of silly to begin that way. There's usually a little bit of tooltips here too. I don't have them enabled because I've already played on this computer. But let's check out our characters. This is my good shooter. So, Lovegood, Alice, is going to get the survival rifle. This is the best weapon that you have to start with. It's the longest range. You can hunt animals without having as much of a risk of getting into close combat with them. This guy is a pacifist. There's no real reason to give him any sort of weapon, but whatever. And then the pistol is your second least horrible weapon. But yeah, the plasteel knife is the worst, because right now melee combat is just not a good way to live, I guess is the best way to put that. Oh, I've never actually landed somewhere that had silver ore before. That's pretty nice. These over here are packaged survival meals, so we want to unlock those so they can grab them. You fall with a bunch of resources. You have silver, which you can use to purchase stuff if you make a comm center. I don't usually prioritize comm centers because trading is good later in the game, but as far as early game goes, I don't find it very useful. Okay, so we need to pick out a place that we're going to set up camp. So, a few things that you want to look for is you want a steam geyser. You want relatively close steel, which I'm seeing lots of over here actually. And you want to be somewhere that you can encapsulate or has a building available that you can just move right into. Like this building is nice, but the steam geyser's over there, which is a little bit far. Geyser's there, a little bit far. Actually, is there a nice geyser? No. The other thing you want to watch out for is you don't want to be right next to the edge, because if you have an invader and they come and invade, they always come from the edge. So if you're really close to the edge, you don't really have any time to set up, so you just sort of sit there and then you die. Maybe I should have picked a slightly larger map than this, but this is not bad. I might do over here. Do I have steel? I have some steel here. I have some steel back there. I don't really have a building to start with, which is going to be a problem for the first night. So this here might be better. Okay, so here's the reasons I'm choosing this spot. It is a little close to the edge, which sort of sucks, but I do get started with a sandstone wall. I do have lots of steel here and here and here. I even have some silver ore, which isn't too far away in either direction. It's somewhat enclosed, so I'm going to probably build out a wall here and then in this direction and sort of block it off that way. And then go mining happy right here. And so it's somewhat enclosed, which will make it easier to defend. But one of the basic strategies in this game is you just have sort of one entrance and then let people go crazy. The steam geyser isn't going to come in too early, but it's good to have. And then I can just set up some very close... I don't like that building spot, do I? I like that building so much more. Why can't I have that building? Oh, to be young again and not daunted with these decisions. Yeah, I think I'm going to still do it. I don't like this building very much because it's a little bit small. And that's the problem I'm running into. This one has much more space. And the reason I like a little bit more space is I like to be able to get some resources inside right away so they don't waste away. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. So here's some commands for you. If you're playing this game on a Mac laptop, by the way, which I have done, it's sort of awful. And here's why I say it's awful. It's not because I'm mean. It's because it's legitimately a horrible experience. That's not entirely true. The user interface is very clunky. And then on top of that, Macs don't have right clicks and they don't have mouse wheels. And while you're able to do some things to compensate for that, it's not to the extent that some aspects of the UI become manageable. For example, the trade screen, you're required to click on something and then drag it over to the right or to the left. On a Mac, this is a very uncomfortable gesture that will eventually murder your wrist. On the PC, I haven't really had any issues with it because my mouse loves me and it doesn't want to murder me. But yeah, so while it's a Mac-friendly game in theory, in practice, I might not bother. Okay, so the first thing we do is we want to build some beds in here. The reason for this is because people are happier when they sleep. Ha! So weird. Okay, and then that was under our furniture tab. How you change this, you just right-click it and then select whatever material you want. Do not use steel. You need lots and lots of steel. You don't want to waste it on beds like I did in my first game. Don't use silver. That's your currency. So, like, you can make art structures out of silver and then sell it for more, but don't... No. Not right now. Bad. So then you hit chop wood, which is your B button if you want to do that too. And just clear out some of the local trees because you're going to need some wood because that's your main building resource to begin with. Now that we have these guys have their items to pick up immediately, I'm going to go ahead and unfreeze them. Then let them grab them and start chopping stuff. The next thing we need to do is we need to build a stockpile. I'm going to build my stockpile right here. I'm probably not going to keep it here long term, but short term this is not a bad place. You can build it any size, honestly it doesn't matter. I just pretty much are going to allow everything including corpses. Ooh, wait, nope, that backfired last time because the person went absolutely batshit crazy and decided that she wanted to murder people because she saw too many corpses. There we go. Don't allow human corpses. That does not end well for you. / me, ever. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and end this here, because I'd like to keep this video series a little bit shorter in the episodes. And we'll go ahead and pick this up next time and talk about some more tips for surviving your first night. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.